Okay, greetings internet. So today I wanted to talk about why... Now, I've thought about this a lot. I shouldn't say a lot, but I've thought about this some. But the topic today is, why is Borderlands 2 such a good game? Because this is actually the game I have, like, out of my Steam list. This is the game I have the most hours on. Now, I'm not a hardcore player or anything, but I put hundreds of hours into this game. And I've tried other games and they never quite stuck with me the way this one does, so I kind of wanted to explore what makes this one kind of special in a way. Of course, this is a personal list and everybody has their own opinions about what makes a good game and what isn't. But, I made another list. So, the number one for me is that it's offline. I don't like online games. I prefer to play by myself. I don't want to interact with others. I don't want to have some kind of in-game economy where I have to, like in Path of Exile with the trading system, you have to inquire into 10 different people until one person finally gets back to you, and that's just a pain. And all the balancing is around, it's around the normal league with trading enabled. So it makes the solo experience just not very fun. I mean, it's fine, but it's not. I mean, it's just not balanced around the way I like to play video games. So that goes into number 2. Is raiding or having to group up with people. I don't want to be reliant on people to have to clear content of a game. I don't want to wait on people. I don't want to plan to meet up with people. I don't want to meet up at a convenient time for people. I just want to boot up the game and be able to do anything inside of that game. And if you prefer that kind of experience, that eliminates a lot of the more looter-based games, like The Division or Destiny. And then that goes into another thing too, is the online games with its monetization. Borderlands 2 has been out for years at this point. And, aside from the Sanctuary DLC that came out when Borderlands 3 launched, there hasn't really been too much going on with it, so the game's kind of in a set state, and I actually prefer things that way instead of things constantly changing. And it also means the company isn't trying to kind of screw you over with monetization, battle passes, whatever else, loot boxes, whatever else companies throw in there. So 3 for me, and I think this kind of ties into what makes this game feel better in my opinion, is that the guns are fun, the equipment is fun, and I think a big reason for that is that Borderlands 2 is a first-person shooter game. It's a combination of an ARPG and a FPS. The problem I've always had with the ARPG games, even though you'd think I would enjoy them in theory, because I like starting from level 0 and then slowly climbing your way up to make a powerful character. But if the gameplay isn't engaging, then you're not going to enjoy that journey. And it's not like I dislike ARPGs; they just haven't stuck with me the same way FPS games. I just find the core gameplay loop of first-person shooter games to be a lot more enjoyable than a top-down view. And I also enjoy first-person over third-person shooters, but maybe that's just a personal preference. And the thing about Borderlands is that the guns are very unique. There's all the guns have different parts, they have different perks, they have different stats. And the legendary weapons, they feel very I mean, there's a real difference in how all of them are used and how, like, they don't just all do a ton of damage. Like, some don't do a lot of damage, but they have, like, some other thing that makes them useful. And I think that does a lot for the game. And then 4 is a kind of obvious one, but it's the enemy and location variety. I mean, there's not much to say about this one besides there's a lot of different enemies to fight. You know, everything from the scavs to the bandits to the loaders to those worm things. I forget what they're called, the ones that come out of the ground. And my favorite class is probably the loaders fighting. I think they're very well designed and they're very fun to fight. And then the location variety is that it's a very big game after, 5 DLCs. So 4 or 5, I think it's 5 headhunter packs, and then you have the 2 DLC characters, and you have the Destruct Peak and the level cap for the one that came before it. So it's just, there's a lot to do. And then 5 is the unique characters and playstyles. No 2 characters feel like they play exactly the same. Like, the way you play Zero is vastly different from the way you play Salvador or from the way you play Krieg. And it's not just the skills too. It goes down to the weapons. Like, some weapons are very good on some characters, and then some characters are just terrible. So it makes, like, every time you play through the game on a different character, you're not just chasing for the same items. And I think that's a big positive for this game. And I put 6 for first person, but I guess I kind of already talked about that, so I'll go down to the next one, which is engaging gameplay. I think this is an important one because the way farming works in this game. I feel like in Path of Exile or in other games, you kind of just do maps, and that's, of course that's simplifying it, but sometimes there's like one core like game mechanic at the end of the game, and you're just supposed to do that until you grind your way to some boss. And while it's not the worst thing in the world, I think Borderlands does it a lot better, where there's so many different ways to chase items and so many different things to work forwards to beat with those items that you chased for. If you think about it, there's the unique weapons that are quest rewards. And you just get that by completing a quest, and then maybe like read only. That's one unique way that you can look for items. And then you have the legendary farms, where you just save quit, and you have a 10% chance every time you kill the enemy. And if you think about that, it's a way that gets you to go to not every single, but it gets you to go to so many different parts of the game. Like, if you want to chase a herald, that's different from if you want to chase a Bada Boom or a Logan's gun. It gets you to fight. It gets you to return to these enemies just after like simply beating them in the campaign once. And then there's the way you farm for pearls. Farming for tubby enemies. There's just so much variety in there that it makes a very engaging, like, latter half of the game that I think many games just aren't really able to replicate. And I think Gearbox kind of did this by accident. I don't think they really intended to do this in the beginning. It just kind of ended up that way. And then another thing too is the difficulty in Borderlands 2 feels very... I should say, I usually play with a community patch, and that's another advantage of Borderlands 2, that there's a lot of mod support, so you can kind of craft the experience you want with the game. And I usually just play with the community patch enabled, and that's about as far as I go with mods. I mean, sometimes I'll try playing something else, but I very rarely play vanilla Borderlands 2. So yeah, I think those were my main reasons for, why this game has really stuck with me. So I'm kind of curious if anybody else is a fan of this game, then why is Borderlands 2 so much better than other games you played? Okay, bye.